Ladies and gentlemen, sorry that I am not here today. I've got my follow-up appointment after my knee surgery, so got to take care of that. But wanted to make sure that you guys stayed on the same track as my other classes as we start this new unit. First thing, if you have not already filled out the check-in form and gotten your Moira Monday words, please make sure that you do that. For this number 2 review Canvas post discussion, that was just a reminder, make sure that you have done your post and responded to a classmate. This discussion norms item, we will do this in class tomorrow. So really what we're going to start with today is we're going to review your reading schedule for Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, reminders about vocab in your packet, and just kind of make sure that everybody's on the same page as we start this unit. So the sub is going to give you an orange bookmark to use that also has our reading schedule on it. However, the reading schedule on Canvas is a little bit more in depth, and it also contains an example double entry journal. So we're going to be clicking around in Canvas. So if you don't already have Canvas pulled up, go ahead and pull it up. Going under modules and under unit 2 for Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. So the first thing we're going to look at is this Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass reading schedule and double entry journal example. So we're going to open that. So what this has is it has the expectations for you as to when certain chunks of chapters should be finished. So for example, your first chunk of chapters 1 and 2, is due at the beginning of class on November 5th and 6th. So just whatever block day you have. This document has the page numbers, which your bookmarks do not. So when I say that this document is a little bit more in depth, really that's what I'm talking about, is this document contains the page numbers for the chapters, and the bookmark does not. This document also has an example double entry journal. So we're going to go into that assignment really quickly and then come back and look at the example. So going back to our Unit 2 module, you are going to be looking at the Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass double entry / dialectical journals, all chapters. So you're going to be working in the same document. Means that you are going to get the assignment returned to you, and then you're going to type in it again. So I'm going to grade that assignment gradually. So this is what your assignment looks like. Okay, it says read the assigned chapters. When you are finished, you will select one passage from each chapter read to analyze. Your analysis should focus on one of the following. Okay, so these are your different options of focus for your double entry journals. So you can ask a question, make a connection, make a prediction, clarify, which basically means answer an earlier question to confirm or disaffirm a prediction. You can reflect on something, so thinking deeply about what a passage means, not just to the characters. What conclusions can you draw about the world? So big picture connection. You can evaluate, which means make a judgment about what the author is trying to say, or you can expand on a reading question. So you will get optional reading questions for each chapter. And then that is an option of what you can do for a double entry journal. You can expand on a reading question. However, this is not a choice that should be used for every entry. If you choose this option, it should be a true expansion. You have to go deeper than the surface level answer for the question. Each of the assigned chapters will have different due dates, so make sure that your journals are submitted by the assigned time. So whatever day that it says the reading is due, okay, that is always at the beginning of class, and that means that your double entry journals are due on that day as well. So this is what each of your entries will look like. You'll notice that I also have the page numbers here. Okay, on the left-hand side is where you'll put your focus for the chapter. So that's where you'll put either CL or R or E or whatever your focus is. The passage from the text, okay, up here there's a reminder about what a passage is. That's just essentially your quote. So your quote that you're focusing on needs to be more than one sentence, but not an entire paragraph. So look for like a quote that's maybe 2 to 3 sentences long. And then your analysis of the passage, whatever your focus is, that's going to be over here. So this is where you're going to expand on that. So you have them for all of our chunks of chapters. Okay, so now let's go back and let's look at that reading schedule that has the example double entry journal. So this is the example. Okay, you'll notice over here I have my focus. Okay, I have my passage right here. It has 1, 2 sentences. Okay, and then I have my analysis. You'll notice your analysis needs to be 3 to 4 sentences long. Please make sure that you are adhering to that. Okay. So we talked about your reading schedule. Okay. We've talked about the bookmarks, the reading questions. Okay. Those are going to be optional. Okay. Everyone will get a copy of those for chapters 1 and 2. Going forward past that, it will be optional. And so I will only give copies to those people that ask for it. But today, everyone is going to get a copy. We talked about your double entry journal. Okay. The last thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about your blue packets. So in your blue packets, if you flip to I think it's the third page. Okay. That is your first page for Frederick Douglass. Okay. So on each page for the chapter, you have a couple of different things. You have your chapter vocabulary. Okay. You have your chapter 1 allusions and terminology. I figured it would be easier to just talk about it and have it pulled up. So this is your blue packet. So pretend this background is blue. So you have chapter vocabulary and chapter 1 allusions and terminology. So the allusions and terminology and the vocab are meant to be read before the chapter. So that's something you need to look at before the chapter. And then the summary, people, places, and important quotations are meant to be done as you are reading the chapter. So reading questions are optional. Your packet is not. Your packet and your double entry journal at the end of the unit are going to be turned in, and the scores on those combined are going to be a major grade, which is going to be a test grade. Okay, so please, please, please make sure that you are staying up to date with your double entry journals and you are staying up to date with your packets. So what y'all are going to do for the remainder of class is you are going to start reading chapters 1 and 2. There is an audiobook link on Canvas under our Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass module if you want to use that. Periodically, we will have class time to work on this, but the further we get into the book, the less class time you're going to have. You'll have a little bit in the beginning just as we kind of get used to the book and the way that Douglass writes. But as we get on, okay, you'll have less class time. So when you get it, use it wisely. So you have the remainder of class today to kind of start on everything. If you have questions, I will ask, I'll be there tomorrow. So you can ask me those questions tomorrow. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, well done. My favorite candy is Skittles or Reese's. And if you come and tell me that you know that fact about me, I will give you some no rating points. Okay, please be good for the sub. Document